Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. My chat window is not showing up, and I don't know what's going on. Panic, panic. I got, my chat window is not showing up here on the side.
I don't know. Go back maybe to your, it's a weird window. Try opening it again.
We have 4 people, and we're live. But my chat window's not showing up.
I didn't realize you were actually 5.
Yeah, we're live.
We're a minute early, so.
It's 2 o'clock on my calendar.
Now. I don't know, Tim. The other way to do it is just to go to the front end and have the front end, like, because you don't really need that window.
At the front end.
So, like, pretend you're watching. So you just go to our YouTube page. And
That's an idea.
so you can always view it that way. It's tricky to get to because it's your channel, so click on the...
Let's see if I got a email. Nope.
Go to your channel. Click there.
Live training. Audio is working.
Yeah, make sure your volume's muted on that one. Because otherwise you're going to hear yourself.
Okay.
That might get a little weird.
All right, we're live. Thanks, Michelle. On my monitor, the chat wasn't showing up, and that is very, very weird. So I have to go to my YouTube channel and watch it live, like you are watching live. And Michelle is trying to help me out. Carlos says the audio is working. Carlos is here. Terry Wheelock. Hey, he says, will RockSim 9.x run on Windows 11 or 12? Windows 12? I thought Windows 11 was the newest one. The answer, Terry, I can answer that one real quick. I don't know. Never tried it because we're on 10. And 10 is better than 9, so why are you still using 9? That's the question. Why are you still using 9? We have Ducky Gaming here. He says hello. This is RockSim Live. RockSim is our model rocket design and simulation software. And it runs on Mac and Windows. And I know we are on version 10, and version 10 does run on Windows 10 and 11. We've got a new computer in the building that we run Windows 11 on, so we've now been running version 10 on Windows 11, and it seems to run fine, which is a good thing, right? Because we're always afraid when Microsoft releases an update or a new version of Windows that they break things. But it seems to be running okay, so that's a good thing. We have Johan in the Netherlands, and he says my sound is so hollow. I don't know if I can do anything about that. I don't have a volume control. It's either on or off. My switch is on, and I can see by my indicator that it's on. If you have a question about RockSim, go ahead and ask, because I don't have any agenda today. There's nothing that's burning that I need to show you. I didn't get any questions over the last week. So I am looking for questions. I have my monitor over here. That's why I keep looking off to the side. Terry, if you're using version 9, Terry says, hey, I can't afford version 10. But if you have version 9, and if it's a legitimate version, the upgrade to version 10 was free. So there's no excuse not to upgrade to version 10 if you have version 9. So go ahead and upgrade. It's pretty simple to do, and there's a lot new features, especially, you know, like the recommended rocket motors, which is like one of my favorite new features of version 10. I think it's on the laptop speaker instead of the mic. He's saying that it's picking up my laptop. Let me check that. I will check my microphone. So this is the internal microphone, and if I hit my computer, you can hear it pop. Let me go back to my camera microphone. So that is the camera microphone. So if I hit my microphone here, you should hear it pop. No, it's not popping. That's not a good sign. It was working. Let me check my microphone. I'm so sorry about this. I got a new battery. Let me change the battery into my microphone. See if that helps. I don't know what microphone is being picked up, because I only have the one in the computer. Changing microphones, batteries. Let me try that again. That's the laptop microphone. Try one more time. Testing 1, 2, 3. I have no idea what microphone is being picked up. Let me change one more thing. That was it. I figured it out. I had the microphone cord plugged into the headphone outlet instead of the microphone port on the camera. So what you were getting was the camera's microphone. So now we have the correct microphone. Thank you, Johan, for doing that. You turned it on before. Ducky says gaming. Ducky Gaming says, I'm building a 2-stage rocket with the designer special. Cool. Let me go to my screen now that we got the microphone figured out. Okay, so here is the Apogee website. So Ducky says he's building a rocket from the designer special. So what's the designer special? It's an Estes parts collection. And we do sell it here. Designer special. Come on. There it is. Designer special. That's this right here. It's a collection of parts. You get all these nifty parts that you can build rockets with. You get all those tubes, centering rings, and transitions, and balsa wood, and fin patterns, shock cord, all kinds of good stuff. Yeah, it's a really good way to design and build rockets. See, it's kind of like, it's what it says. It's for designers, somebody that wants to design rockets. And then once you design your rockets, or before you design your rockets, you should be designing them in RockSim. And that's probably why you're here. So if you go to, on the Apogee website, go to How To and Guides, come down here to Software, and here's the information about RockSim. You can download the free trial. You have frequently asked questions, the version history, video tutorials. Right now we're doing RockSim live training, which is this. If you click on that, This will give you all the previous episodes, and we're on episode 69 today. Today is May 13th. It's Friday the 13th. So we're on episode 69. And once we finish this episode, we'll do a survey of the topics, and we'll put them here. And these numbers here are timestamps for the YouTube videos. So if you go to the YouTube video and you go to like 5 minutes and 45 seconds into that video, you'll find there. I wasn't here last week. Michelle filled in for me, and I only partially watched her episode. Delayed parachute deployment in RockSim. I don't know what she was talking about there. That's interesting. And can you simulate boost gliders in RockSim? And she talked about that as well. And Terry says, can we design rocket gliders in RockSim 10? So maybe the same question. So we got a good question. Awesome. Okay, so that's our first question is from Terry. Can you design gliders? And the answer is maybe. Let me taste a sip of water here. Let me bring up RockSim. Okay, so I had it open. So here is RockSim. Let me see if you can see it on my screen. Something is going wrong with my screen here. Okay. All right, there we go, there we go. Let me get rid of this. We don't need that one. Okay, so designing a glider. Let's see if we have a glider design in RockSim. So let's Condor. So on the Apogee website, we have a rocket called the Mini Condor. And do we have a RockSim file? Oh, look at that. There is a RockSim file for it. Mini Condor boost glider. So let's go back to RockSim. So that means let me go to Open and see if I can find a Mini Condor. Mini Condor. I'm looking through here, see if there's one that's an RKT. Mini Condor boost glider. So this is in the design folder. So it comes with RockSim. So if you have RockSim, go into the design folder. So here's the design folder of RockSim. And then in that will be an Apogee folder, Apogee components. And in that, you will find the Mini Condor if you want to follow along. And if you use the free demo, this is also in there. So Mini Condor boost glider. And I'm just going to open it, and you get a side view of it right here, and we can see it in 3D by selecting 3D over here. And you can zoom in and then rotate this around, and we can see what it looks like. All right, so this is the rocket. Let's see how it's set up. I can't remember how I did this. Okay, so we have a pod attachment, which is this piece right here. It's white. That's why it's highlighted. And then to that we have a glider hook, and then we have the glider boom. The glider boom is made from a fin, which is right here. And we have the wings. So you got all these glider components. So now you can design it in RockSim, which is what his question was, but does it glide? And the answer to that one, the way that this one is set up, it will not glide. Because in RockSim, all the fins are, if I can show you this rocket here, show you a tail rocket of this. Go to my wide angle camera. Okay, so here is a rocket. Imagine this was a glider. But all the fins are perfectly aligned with the boom or the tube of the rocket. And so they're all at 0 degrees angle of attack. And for a glider to glide, you need that horizontal stabilizer to be angled down a little bit so it puts it in pitch, and so that causes the nose to go up. So the tail goes down, nose goes up. RockSim doesn't have the capability of pitching a glider tail, horizontal tail, so it will not glide. So if you launch this, all you're going to get is the portion of the flight that goes up. Anything after that, you pretty much can ignore, because it's not the way that RockSim works. And so let's run a simulation here, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to choose an engine. Need all engines. Okay, so let's use an A3, and let's use it. It should be a 3-second. So 3 seconds. So an A33. No, it should be an A34. That's right. A34. Oops. Come on. Use a 4-second delay. It hangs out the back 3/8 of an inch. Click OK. You can see right here in the back it installed the motor. Let's see how this is set up. So it's going to have a maximum ejection delay when it kicks out the streamer. We're launching, let's go straight up. So launch angle, make that 0 degrees, hit tab. Launch conditions, we have an 8-mile-an-hour wind. Let's see what this looks like in the flight profile. It should go up and should be a streamer, but let's launch it. See, it goes up, and that's the streamer coming out, and then the glider is coming down somewhere, but we don't know because it doesn't glide. I'll let that run through one more time so you can see it. Yeah, it just goes up and comes back down. So if this is something I've been thinking about for a while, is can you do this in RockSim Pro? Because RockSim Pro does allow you to change the angle of attack on those fins. So that's a good question. I haven't thought about it, but I want to answer all your questions first before I start playing around. If nobody has any questions, well, then I'll start playing around with that. Ducky Gaming says he's in England. Awesome. So we have somebody from the Netherlands, we have somebody from England, and we have somebody from Georgia. Rick DeFossa says, nice to see Apogee branded CA adhesives. So what's he talking about? So if you go back to the Apogee website, and if you go to the home page, so if you just click on home, or if you click on the Apogee, it'll take you to the home page. And then you scroll down on the home page to the new items, new products. So the new products, we have the new super glues that we're carrying. So there's four varieties of super glues, and then there's debonder and super glue accelerator. And I just made a video yesterday that shows what the differences are between all the glues and when you would use specific glues. So, you know, when would you use the super glue, the odorless glue, and, you know, when would you use that? I got messages that are popping up, so I got to turn off some things here. Otherwise I get distracted. So that will be coming out on Tuesday, and so you'll just have to wait. But if you're on the website, you can actually read about it, you know, because I have this thing here on the which CA glue should I use. CA stands for cyanoacrylate, which is the chemical formulation, the name of it. So we have the 4 glues, the accelerator and the debonder. And we also recommend, if you're using at least the thin super glue, to get the happy hands. it's a skin barrier for your hands, so that when you get the glue on it, it will join your fingers together, but they'll peel apart a lot easier. And you know how super glue, it sticks to you, and it's like, takes like hours and hours and hours of trying to do that to get it off. Once you have the happy hands on, it comes off so much easier. So that's what he's talking about. So, and we don't actually make it. It comes from Bob Smith Industries, and they put our label on it because they're very nice people. So, but the cool thing about it is Bob Smith guarantees freshness for 2 years once we receive it, and we don't expect to hold on to it very long. So we're going to get resupplied all the time. So we'll always have fresh CA glue, and that's what you want. Let's go back to here. Terry Wheelock says that Burke guy got me inspired. Which Burke guy? I'm missing something. Terry Wheelock says, I'm on the moon. He wants to build the X-20. Cool, that's a cool plane. Kevin's Models and More says, hello Tim, watching from Las Vegas. Any plans for Apogee to produce any RC gliders like Estes did in the 1990s? We carry a couple of RC gliders. Let's see. We have the Aurora. The Aurora RC Clipper RC glider. That's that one. We have that one in stock, and we have the ME Comet. Yeah, the ME 163 Comet is an RC glider. This one is not recommended for beginners. Let me tell you about our experience flying it, because I'm not a beginner RC pilot. I'm a veteran rocket person, but I would call myself a beginner RC glider. And this thing, it flies so fast, and then when it took off, it went whoop. It just flipped right over on its back, and it smashed the nose. It's a foam nose, so it kind of came back to shape, but it's not beginner friendly. And it's made by Klima, and they're in Germany, and they recommend launching it horizontally. But in the United States, it's against the National Rocketry Association's safety code to launch anything greater than 30 degrees from vertical. So we can't launch it like that. You know, if we would have launched it horizontal, it would have probably been just fine. But we launched it like this, and then it went whoop, and it smucked right into the ground. It was so fast. Yeah, it's so. But I am not planning on designing any gliders anytime soon. Although I am working on a project right now that's glider related, and that's a gliding parachute. And if you're on YouTube, we did a video on that. I'll kind of give you a sneak peek. Gliding GPS parachute. Right here, this video. Let me pause it here. But this, let me see if I can get it to where it's working. Let me show you it in theater mode. So we're watching a video in a video. This is our video, so I'm not breaking any copyright stuff. So what we did is we tested it by dropping it. I gotta turn off the sound. We tested it by dropping it from a drone. That's the cheap, fast way, because rocket engines are a lot, you know, that would have been $30 a flight, and we could do it with a drone for free, basically. Just the cost of electricity. And we just hauled it up into the air and then dropped it, and get it to where it's dropping. Oh, there's me again. Okay, so then here's the rocket coming, or the glider coming down. So it's a gliding parachute, and you can see it's coming forward, and it's going to be RC. So all the control is left to right. It's not like a typical RC where you have pitch control. This is just yaw control, and by doing that, you can steer it back down to the ground where you are standing. So the purpose of that is, you know how dual deployment is so that you can save yourself from walking a long way? Well, this is going to be save yourself even more from walking a long way, because if you can come get it to land right at your feet, you don't even have to walk. Originally, we wanted to do it as GPS controlled, where the computer would just guide it back. But because of COVID and the chip shortages, we just can't get the chips. So what we're going to do is release it as RC, and if you'll have to supply your own receiver and supply your own battery, but and maybe, I'm not sure about the servo, but once you get the receiver and your own transmitter, so you can go left right. So even a cheapy, you know, the most crappiest transmitter that it, you know, like a 2-channel radio, you only need 1 channel because all you got is left and right. So it's going to be fun. That's what I'm working on now. We're trying to get all the parts. The most complex part was the parachute, because it is a glider, and it has to be made with extreme precision. And those parachutes, we actually do have them, but I don't have everything else. Now we have to make the eBay that, you know, you saw there was that little cylinder below the parachute. That's where the controller is, and so that's where you're going to mount your RC servo, your receiver, and the battery. And then you hang your rocket below that. So that goes inside your rocket, and it just pops out like a parachute. The parachute opens and inflates, and then you can steer it back down to the ground. So that's kind of what I'm working on recently. Let's see. Johan says, I bet needs an A3-2T. Yeah, gliders usually need a shorter delay. Oh, that Burt guy is the guy who builds all the gliders. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Kevin's Models and More, or Carlos says, I sent a rocket RKT file in the mail with 2 questions, one that you have just answered. I am not seeing the email, Carlos. Our website has, this morning our website went down, and it wasn't our fault, it was the fault of our internet service provider. The server went down, which was really strange because they're usually been pretty good about hosting. And it's up right now because I can get to the web page. I didn't realize you had any, says Kevin. I maybe pick one up sooner rather than later. Mark Sell says, hello from Parker. Either the RC parachute or glider would make for fun spot landing competition. Right. Okay, if you got any other questions about RockSim, how to use RockSim, questions about RockSim, maybe how to build rockets, I'm able to answer, hopefully, those questions right now. So go ahead and type them in. Let me take a sip of water. Let me open RockSim Pro while we're waiting. Where's RockSim Pro? Where's RockSim Pro? It says it's open. Am I not seeing it? There it is. It's popping up now. I want to open that glider up in RockSim Pro and see if it does anything different. So file, open, and I want to go to RockSim Pro, it doesn't matter. Designs, Apogee components, and that was the Mini Condor boost glider. Open. Okay, so here's that glider again. And let's see if I can make it glide. Okay, so this is going to be an advanced trick. I'm going to set this, in order for RockSim to track two parts of the rocket coming down at the same time, you have to do a trick, and the trick is to set the rocket up as a two-stage rocket. So even though this looks like a single-stage rocket, I have to convert it into a two-stage rocket. And so in the bottom stage, I want the glider, and in the top stage, I want the pop pod that falls off. And so right now, if I go to the design components, you can see it's set up as a single stage rocket, and I can tell it's a single stage rocket because it just lists a sustainer. So to convert this into a two-stage rocket, we'll go to the Design Attributes tab, click on that, and come down here, and we're going to say this is a two-stage rocket. Okay, and then when I go back to here, now I have a booster stage right here. Okay, so now I got to think about this. How am I going to do this? Ooh, this is a good one. This is going to make my brain hurt. Okay, so I want everything from the pop pod, the pylon, the glider pod hook, everything from there down, I mean down here, like all these components here, I want them in the booster stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. So I just right click on it and say copy, and then I'm going to, I don't think I can do that, because in order to paste it, it has to start out with a tube or a transition. So yeah, so when I click on it, I can't paste. See, it won't allow me to paste it there. So I need a little tube here. So we'll put a tube in there. We'll play RockSim's game. Okay, so I put a tube right there. That's my booster stage, and that's where this glider needs to be attached. But I don't want the tube to affect the glide of the rocket. So I gotta try to trick RockSim to think that that tube is not there. And one way you can do it is make the diameter so small that it's like a launch lug, right? So let's do that. Let's make it like 1/10 of an inch on the outside diameter. No, yeah, and 0.09 inches on the inside diameter. So look how tiny it got. Let's change the length to like that big, like an inch or a ½ inch. Let's try a ½ inch. Let's see what happens. So there is my booster tube, and now I want to attach the glider to that part. So let's say OK there. And so right now you're not seeing it here because I'm not showing both stages. So I need to select both stages to see both stages. And there it is. So now I have a tube here. And now we're calling this a fake tube. And I'm going to do a copy. And then paste. Okay, so it worked. So now we got two gliders there. So now I'm going to take this upper one and I'm going to delete it. So I'm going to do another right click on it and then select delete. And it's going to ask me, do I want to delete it? And I'm going to say yes. Okay, so, all right, so now look what happened. So it put that pod in the wrong spot. So I do think I'm going to need to make that bigger in diameter. So I'm going to go back to that body tube. And I'm going to change the name to fake tube. And this was a 13 millimeter. So let me go back here to choose from the database so I can get the dimensions right. 13 millimeter. Okay, so now we're kind of back to where we were, but now it's like really long. So now let's make it real short again. Look at that. You see what I'm doing there? You know, that's actually not too bad. Okay, so the other thing, when you're doing a two-stage rocket, the booster stage has to have a motor in it. So we need to specify a tube in the booster as where that engine is going to go. So I'm going to say this is a motor mount, and I can load an engine here, but I'm not going to load one right now. So, but I can load one later. So now we're back to here. So here's our booster stage, and then if I select stage 1, and so we just have the rocket right here, and we have this mass out here, and I bet you it's this one, dihedral support. Yeah, that's in the weird spot. I need to copy that into the booster stage as well, because that should go with the booster. So I'm going to copy and paste it there. And then I'm going to delete this one here. Delete. Say yes. And let's see it in two-stage. Okay, so it put it way out here. That's that booster dihedral support. And I'm going to just move the location. And I don't know if you can see this big enough, so let me make this screen bigger. It's this blue right there. And I got it approximately in the right spot. Right there. Click OK. Okay, so now, okay, so that's the, let me go in 3D. Okay, so we're looking at it upside down. So the blue part is our booster stage. And if I turn that off, that's the pod. So the pod, what we're missing on the pod is that pylon. But it's attached to this here. And I can live with that. Let's see, is it attached there? Can I move that back? All right, so I'm going to try this. So I'm going to copy this again. Let me just double check, because I'm playing right now. I'm just experimenting. This is how I learn RockSim too. I just experiment and try to think how I can trick RockSim to doing some really incredible things. Terry Wheelock says, how do you build ram rocket tube inside a tube rocket? Okay, that's a good question. 3D printer guy says hi. And he says, can I get high power motors if I am flying on private land with cert? 3D printer guy, yes, you can get high power motors, but you already have to have your certification. Once you have your certification, I don't care where you fly. As long as you're following the rules. You know, if you're flying high power, you do have to get an FAA waiver in the United States. No matter with your club or without a club, you still have to have a waiver if you're flying a rocket that weighs more than 3.3 pounds and an H motor and above. So yes, you can get high power motors. All right, so let me save this, and then we'll go and answer the RAM tube rocket question, and then we'll come back to here. So I want to do a file, save as, and I'm going to just put this on my desktop. Mini Condor Boost Glider, Glider. Okay. All right, so now let's go Okay, so this is going to be Terry Wheelock. He wants to know how to do a ram rocket. Okay, so let's start a new design. Okay, to start a new design, I click new. When you design a rocket, you start at the left and you work to the right. So I'm on the leftmost tab, so I'll give it a name first, ram rocket. And that's really all I need to do here. So the next one is we're going to start designing. Okay, so the first component in the sustainer, I can use a nose cone, a body tube, a transition, or a subassembly. I'm going to start with a nose cone. So I'll make this, I'm not sure. Let's make it pretty good size. So let's go like 24 millimeters. PNC 13. Let me go to PNC. Oh, I should have done this one. No, I should have done that. I'm looking for the Apogee ones. Public missiles, Apogee, PNC 24, 24A. Let's try this one, 24C. I don't think I've built a rocket around that one in a while. Okay, so we got a nose cone. So let's change this and make it a conical, like you'd find in a ram rocket. So we'll make it conical shape. You can see that, and let's make it shorter. So right now we're at 4.125 inches, and we're going to make it shorter. Okay, we'll make it like that. It says it's made out of polystyrene and it's hollow. And then the color right now is white. Let's make it like gray, like make it a military gray or something like that. Click OK. Okay, so there's our nose cone. So right now we're working on the inside of the rocket, which makes it kind of hard. This is a pretty complex question. So let's put a body tube attached to the nose cone, and it's a 24 millimeter. So it attached the body tube to the nose cone. Let's shorten it up a little bit. I'm not sure how we're going to eject the parachute. We'll worry about that later. Okay, so now we have the inside. So now we need to put a tube on the outside of that. Okay, so there's, I could do this one of two ways. What I think I'll try to do is, let's start it as a pod. So anything that is attached to the outside of the rocket can be attached with a pod. And a pod is a placeholder where other parts are attached. So I'm going to say we're going to attach a pod, and we're attaching it to the nose cone. So it looks like it's right here at the tip of the nose cone. And what we want to select, actually I want to move it back. I want my nose cone to stick out a little bit. So I'm going to move it back a little bit along the nose cone, maybe like right about there, and click OK. And now we're going to attach parts to this because this is a placeholder. So now the first part is a tube. So let's attach a body tube. And when you attach the body tube as a pod, it's going to stick it on the outside, just kind of like stuck to the side of the rocket. But we'll adjust that later, okay? So we're going to stick that tube. So let's make it like a BT 60 or 70. We'll start with a BT 60 and see how it looks. Okay, so that looks good. I like the look of that. But here's the inside portion of the ram, and then here's the outside tube. But we need to center this tube in the middle of the rocket. So I'll leave the length alone. Okay. And now we're going to adjust the position. So now to adjust the position, you go back to the pod, and we'll change it here. And I want to see a base view of the rocket. So I'll select base view. So here's that pod. Here's our main tube with the nose cone. And this pod, I'm going to uncheck this that says it can be ejected during simulation. A pod is kind of like a strap-on booster like on the space shuttle where they would fall off. So if you want it to fall off, you have to check this box, but we don't want it to fall off, so I'm going to uncheck it. So RockSim says, okay, no matter what happens, it stays attached. Then I'm going to go to my radial position tab, and I'm going to uncheck both of these boxes. All right, and now I can adjust the radial distance and the radial angle. And the radial angle I won't change, but the radial distance will be, and it's measured from the center of this tube here, the main tube where the nose cone is. And so how do you get this number? So this is, remember, this is a BT50. So the diameter of a BT50 is approximately 1 inch. And then the diameter of a BT60, which is the big tube, has a diameter of 1.6. So half of that is about 1.6 would be 0.8 plus 0.5, which is half of an inch. So 0.6 plus 0.8 equals this number right there, approximately. This is like exact because it's exactly calculating it. I'm just doing the math in my head. So I'm going to turn this to see if I adjust it. Let's make it 0. And so now it's centered exactly in the middle. And if I look at the side view, you can see that now I've got something similar to a ram where the air is going to go on the inside. Click OK. And now from this point, it's kind of like designing any regular rocket. You'll add fins and an engine mount. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll add the fins first so you can see them. Just click on the fins, click cancel, and then so we got fins attached. So now you can change the look of them. I'll just make sure, see the material here, nothing here. You got to watch that. Sometimes it shows up as nothing, and we don't want that, or we're going to get an error if we try to launch this. So make sure you change that to something that's a real material, like basswood or balsa wood. Let's change the color. Let's say we're making a gray rocket, right? And let's change the 2D color. I always change my colors because that shows that I've been thinking about it, what it's going to look like when it's done. Let's look at it in 3D. So you got your ram rocket right there. But we don't have, let me change the color of that tube. So I'm going to change this to main body tube, because this is the main one. Color, make it a gray, darker gray, click OK, 2D colors, make it that, click OK. Okay, so now there's the rocket again. Now we need to add an engine mount. So let's go back to 2D. So we have to add the engine mount to the main body tube. So I'm going to do inside tube. And let's make it a 24 millimeter tube. Click OK. You can see that it put this 24 millimeter tube right on, overlap that other tube. But I can change the location. So I'm going to slide it back to right there so it butts up against the front tube. And this will work good because now I can eject the ejection charge all the way through and the nose cone will come off. But obviously now it's too long, so I need to change the length here. I do want it to stick out the back just a hair. And this will be a motor mount tube. Let's change the color. Make it that nice gray that we talked about. But the inside color, I don't know, let's make it that color. And now we need centering rings on this tube. So I'll attach the centering rings to the main body tube. Let's go centering ring. I'm going to cancel out of this. This is the database. It always looks in the database whenever you add a new part. So I'll cancel out of that. And if you have this checked, automatically calculate known values, it will automatically calculate the outside diameter and the inside diameter. And it's already got the outside diameter. And when we slide the tube, the location, right now it's this thin blue line. Let's give it some thickness so you can see it. Let's make it 0.05 inches. So now you can see that the centering ring, but it's at the tip of this tube because that's where it's attached. And we'll just slide it back. And as soon as we get it over the tube, you can see it has an inside diameter. And we'll just slide it back to where we could put it anywhere actually. I'll put one here. Again, make sure you got the material specified. I'm going to call this the front centering ring. Let's make the color black and the 2D color orange. Click OK. So there's that ring. And now I'm just going to copy it and then change the position and put it back here in the back. So I'm going to do a copy. So I'm going to right click on it, select copy, then come back up here to the main tube and paste because that's where it's attached. And it pasted it. So now you see two of them right here in the parts tree. And we're going to take one of them and slide it back and rename it. So I'll just take this front ring here, call it the rear. And then we'll just slide its location back to the back end of the rocket. And it already is paper. Click OK. We need a parachute, so we'll put that parachute here in the main body tube, or we could put it up here into this other body tube. So this body tube, let's call this one the RAM body tube, so we can tell it apart. RAM body tube. Click OK. Did we change the color of that? Let's change it. Make it cool looking. Let's make that one black. No, let's make it white. Let's make it white. I think that will be better. And the 2D color, make it that color. Okay, so now we got that. We're going to put that parachute right in here. So we'll put in a parachute, fair parachute. Let's start with a 18-inch nylon Apogee parachute. So there it is. Let's slide it back just a little bit so it doesn't block the shoulder. Right there. Let's change the color. Let's make it red. Now let's make it yellow. And 2D color, yellow. We'll go yellow, but make it a darker so we can see it a little bit easier. Okay, so there's our parachute. And then you'd add your launch lugs and shock cords and any other miscellaneous stuff. But I want to just get to where we can launch it. Let me save it. Let's call it a RAM rocket. And I want to put it on my desktop. I'll just throw it on the desktop. Save it. Okay, it's saved. Let's run a simulation. Choose an engine. This is 24 millimeters, so we'll go with an S to C11. I could pick anything, but I kind of know an S to C11 is fairly small. Shouldn't go too high. I'll select the longest delay from the list. I always start with the longest and then work backwards. And then the engine's going to overhang 0.5 inches. Overhang is how much it hangs out the back end of the rocket. And click OK, and you can see it draws it right here on the rocket. Let's see, and then flight events, parachute maximum ejection delays, simulation 800. Just leave those alone. leave that alone. Launch conditions, that looks fine. And let's launch it. Let's see the flight profile. So here's the rocket sitting on the ground, and it takes off. It looks like it's going nice and straight as long as it stays inside of our weathercocking cone for Apogee. Right there is Apogee. I'd call that a good flight, and now it's going to just drift with the wind right back down to the ground. Very cool. So that's good. I like that flight. Went about 840 feet. Let's save it again. What I think I want to do is to open it up in the launch visualizer, and that way I can share the simulation with you. So the launch visualizer is at rocksim.com. So let me open up a new window here in Chrome. For some reason, our launch visualizer likes Chrome a little bit better than it likes Safari. We discovered this the other day. For those of you who have the M1 chip Mac computer, we've noticed some problems with Safari, but it works fine on Google Chrome. So just use Google Chrome if you have it. RockSim.com. And it loads. So we're going to run the simulation online. I need to log in. Okay, so now I'm logged in, and I'm going to upload a new design. I'm going to take that design that I just created, and I'm going to upload it to the cloud, and I put it on my desktop. The RAM rocket, click open, and upload, and it should show it right here once it's done loading. So there's our RAM rocket, and this is, so I can look down into the rocket just like normal. It's not showing my centering ring though. Interesting. Let's launch this now. So let's choose a launch site. So who should we pick on today? When I say pick on, I mean who should we promote? So we're gonna go with the Crazy Creek Rocket Club. Let's find out where they're located. So it's loading a map of this launch site, and this is, let me orient the map so north is straight up. Oops, too much. Hit 2D, there we go. And first I want to figure out where this is. So I'm backing out. Okay, so this is in California. Kind of here's San Francisco on the west coast of the United States, and here is that launch site. And it's in Hidden Valley Lake area. And it's right in a building, so we can't launch in a building. So I'm looking at this launch site. Where would I launch if I was at this launch site? This kind of looks like a runway, doesn't it? So maybe they parked their cars there. So let's launch. Ooh, I like this over here. What's this? Somebody's barn. And what are these things right there? I don't know, maybe that's like concrete for a launch site. So to put a launch site there, you double click on it and then say confirm launch site. And when you confirm the launch site, it's going to update the latitude and longitude and the altitude coordinates. And so now everything is updated. Okay, so that's where we're launching, and let's aim to the south. So when we set our aiming of the rocket, which is next, we'll aim it to the south. So here's the locator. We'll aim it to the southwest and give it a couple of degrees canting so you can see we're aiming it now. We got a wind coming out of the west. And the wind, let's see, the wind is, it's about 5 miles an hour. I'll just change it to 5 exactly. Click OK. Selecting a motor. So now we want to go with a big motor. So let's go with a E15. And 7-second delay. Click OK. And our parachute, oops, flight events. Parachute will deploy a maximum ejection delay, just like in RockSim. And then click launch and simulate it. And it's running the simulation in the cloud right now, and it should be done here in just a second. Okay, so now it's reloading the map. And it looks kind of blurry because we're zoomed in so close. Let me zoom out. So remember, there's that pad that was on the ground. And I'm kind of hovering in the air. It looks a little bit... so my altitude is not quite correct, but that's okay. It'll still fly fine. We're only a couple of feet in the air. Okay, so the rocket is right there. I want to see a trajectory view, so I'm going to go here to trajectory, and then it reoriented my map. So I'll just reorient it. So again, north will be up to the top. And our launch pad is right there. Here's a close-up view of the rocket. We call this the mini view. And let's see what we got for settings. We want to see the weather cock and cone. I want to remember my camera view. I want to see the trajectory path. And I want to see the extruded path to the ground. So the extruded path is the rocket's up here, draw a line from wherever the rocket is right back down to the ground so that I can see kind of a curtain of the rocket path. And then we also want to see the ground track. And we'll click OK, and we'll hit launch. So now you can see the weather cock and cone. And we can tell how high the rocket's going to go by zooming out so we can see the top of the cone, because the rocket is going to probably stay within that cone. And we got some buildings over there, some trees over there, but this looks like a really nice launch site. Okay, so the rocket's taking off. And now we can see the trajectory path, and we can see the curtain coming down to the ground. And this is, I can rotate this around. I want to kind of rotate it this way. Okay, the rocket reached Apogee, and now it should be falling down to the ground. And it is, but it's coming down slow with that parachute. And you can see it's slowly inching this way. And I'm going to speed it up just by grabbing the slider, so we can see, where the rocket's going to land. So there's where it landed. Let me rotate this around, and then recenter it. Got kind of a nice little hill right there. So the rocket, you can see it launched right there. This green path is the path of the rocket. It went up, went over the top. It looked like it was still going up a little bit because it didn't arc over at all. And then the parachute popped out, and then it drifted down to the ground, and it drifted with the wind, which was coming out of the west. So let's look at that rocket again. Let's look at it in a closer view. Let me zoom out just a little bit. So right now it's on the ground. So let's reposition it on the launch pad, and let's launch it again. So there's the rocket. You can see the flame coming out. It's going up. I think the delay is like a little bit too short on this one, because I think it could have gone a little bit higher. Yeah, see, it was still going up. And so now the rocket's inside the smoke. And as soon as the smoke clears, we'll see the rocket again. And then now it's going to drift down to the ground. And it's going to take 263 seconds. So we're not going to watch the whole thing. I'll stop it. But now I want to share this. And I'm going to put it in email. Oops, did it go? Where's my email program? Oh, there it is. Okay, so I want to take that link, copy it, and I want to put that in the chat. Okay, so I put that link to that simulation. So if you click on that link, it will bring up the simulation, and then you can see exactly what I did. It's telling me my optimal delay should have been 7.62 seconds. So I'm going to rerun it while you're looking at that. So I'm going to change the delay. This time we'll make it, let's make it a 9-second delay. So here's our ejection delay, and we'll change that to custom, and we'll make it 9 seconds. Use 9 seconds, and just rerun the simulation. So the launch button is down here below my head on the screen right there. So I'm going to click that, simulate, and let it launch, and I move this screen back here. Okay, so now this time the rocket should go over the top when before the parachute comes out. So rocket's taking off. It's coasting upwards. And it's slowing down, it's slowing down. Oh, it still looks like it's going up, doesn't it? Man, oh man, maybe let's pause it. Let's pause it. Come on, it's being slow. Okay, so I want to back out a little bit on the zoom. Trying to select the right delay. See how that's not coming over the top? So it's not quite where I want. So that was 9 seconds. So we need a longer delay. So let's choose a longer delay. Go back to custom, and let's make it. I'll make it like 14 seconds. I'll show you. Launching it again. Tom, I'm looking at the thing, he says that TARC is this weekend at the Novar field. That's cool. I should have picked on, or I should have promoted the Novar people. But I did already do the Novar field this week when I did our regular newsletter. I shared a simulation in there that had the Novar field in it. We have somebody from New Zealand in the house, Pyro Pedrick. Kia ora from New Zealand. Awesome. Tom also writes, what parts is RockSim using for the drag coefficient? The nose cone, the centering ring, both? It's using the nose cone. On this design, it's using the nose cone. So that's the one downside of Ram rockets, is the drag is a lot higher than RockSim predicts. So you would have to override the drag coefficient with the drag coefficient of the rocket. Okay, so here's that rocket again. Let's launch it again. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oh, zoomed out too much. Okay, so we got a 14-second delay. So this one better go over the top. Yes, it did. And so there's the parachute came out right there. Let me zoom out so we can see the trajectory. Let me pause it. See, there's the weathercocking cone, and now we're outside the weathercocking cone. So this rocket, it weathercocked pretty good. Come on, I want to drag you this way. There we go. I'm dragging the map. You got the mountains in the background. This is a really pretty launch site. If you lose the rocket, you can hit this button right here. It's just find the rocket. And right now it's finding the rocket and it will reorient itself. All right, so I'll put the rocket right in the middle of the screen, and I can rotate it around with keeping the rocket in the middle of the screen. Yeah, that was a good flight. All right, so you have that. Mark Sell says, am I seeing that correctly? It looks like this simulation is outside of the weathercocking cone. And Mark says, yes, Mark, you are seeing that correctly. Whenever you see the red dot, that means the rocket is outside the cone. And let me rotate it around again so you can actually see that it's outside the cone. We want to keep our rocket inside the cone until it hits apogee, because that means that the rocket is going more up than off to the side. That's a good safety criteria that we use. So you see the weathercocking cone right here, and we're outside the cone at apogee. The rocket can drift outside after apogee, but we want the apogee point to be inside of this cone right there. That's very good, Mark. Very good observation. Okay, so we're actually out of time, but we kind of started a little bit late today because of microphone problems, because I had plugged the microphone into the wrong port on the camera. My bad. So try out the launch visualizer. It's a lot of fun. So you can see a lot of information that you normally wouldn't see in RockSim. You know, you can see where the rocket is in relation to where you launched it on anywhere on the planet Earth. So that's the one limitation, is you can't be on the moon, but you can be on the Earth. Let me switch screens here. Yeah. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. You guys are what makes it a lot of fun. You rag on me, which is fine. I can take it. RockSim is not perfect, but we're working towards it. The other news is we're trying to get a beta version out with the new fixes in it. We've done a lot of bug fixes. And hopefully, cross my fingers, next week it might be ready. And we're down to one bug that they have to fix. This morning it was 2 bugs, but then they fixed one. I had a meeting with them, my programmers, this morning. We had a bug pop up in Engine Edit, and they fixed that one. But there's one bug left, and it's a minor bug. It has to do with databases. You know, your parts databases, your engine databases on school computers. And schools have been waiting for this fix for a long time, because schools, they install RockSim differently. They install it, when you install it, it wants you to be the administrator. But if you're a student, you're obviously not the administrator of the computer, and then the databases get into the wrong locations. So we're trying to get that straightened out for schools so that the students don't have the problem. Although the school year is winding down. So if we do have a beta version, we'll announce it in our newsletter. If you're not a subscriber to the Apogee newsletter, go to the Apogee website. There's a banner here that says sign up. You can scroll through the banners right here and sign up for the newsletter, and then you'll get that announcement when it's available and where you can download it. And it will be a beta version until everybody's happy with it. Well, not everybody. Until I'm happy with it, that we can't, that it's stable. There's one bug that we're unsure of that we think we fixed, and that has to do with RockSim crashing when you are opening designs. You have one design open and you close it and open another design. Sometimes it will crash in that time. So we're trying to get that one straightened out, and we think we got it straightened out. So we're going to release it as a beta, and then if it's pretty stable and everybody agrees that it's stable, then we'll officially call it the next release. But in the meantime, if you're an owner of RockSim 10, it will be a free download and you can play with it. Okay, so that's the news. But I've been saying this, that the beta was going to come out next week for every week for the last 4 weeks. So you can't believe me, can you? So I'm hedging my bets, but I'm crossing my fingers, hoping that it's coming out. So thanks for coming. We will see you next week. We will be back again, 2 o'clock Eastern, no, 2 o'clock Mountain Time, 4 p.m. on the East Coast. So it looks like it's going to be a great weekend for launching, and TARC is this weekend, so my best wishes to all the teams, but unfortunately only one can win. But I hope that everybody, what I really hope is, like, of the 100 teams, they get 100 qualified flights and nobody disqualifies. That would be, like, really awesome for every team to, you know, get to the finals and then have a great flight with no DQs. So I'm crossing my fingers hoping for that. So I'm going to end the stream. So go out and launch something in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ending.